What's up, everyone? Welcome to tonight's episode of The Good Guy Drinks Whiskey. Today is my first Instagram live stream of 2023, but you can check out my live stream from last week on my YouTube channel, The Whiskey Influencer, where I did a blind tasting with Chris from Single Malt Savvy. But tonight I have a very special guest. I've got Jason. Jason is a whiskey content creator known for his YouTube channel, The Mash and Drum. Mash and Drum has over 75,000 subscribers, where he does frequent reviews on recently released bourbons and other whiskeys. So with that, let me go and invite Jason on to this chat. The Springbank 12-year-old cask strength, I think, would be the best starting point right here.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
So do you drink a lot of Springbank? What's kind of your background with Springbank, Hazelburn, Longrow?
I was introduced to Springbank a couple years ago. It's hard to find Springbank here in Ohio where I am. There's just none of it. So you have to usually travel or get samples to try it. So
yeah.
But once I tried it, I could see why people go crazy for it. It's got such a unique flavor profile. I totally understand the Springbank funk that it has.
Yeah.
It's a very unique beet profile. The distillate is delicious.
Yeah.
Especially when you get into those higher ages. Just really good stuff.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, it's not just in Ohio that it's difficult to find. I mean, Springbank is nearly impossible nowadays with the latest craze to find anywhere. I used to, before the craze, it was easy to pick it up from abroad for significantly reduced prices compared to what is in the U.S. And now you just really can't find it anywhere. This 12-year-old cask strength was actually one of those rare ones that I could find a couple of bottles of. But this was like a year ago, so even these are long gone.
Yeah, I think my favorite I've had is a couple of Springbank 18s, and the local barleys always seem to be a favorite of mine. I just love the flavor of those.
Yeah, the local barley is super unique. I mean, they use obviously barley grown on Campbelltown, and I went to Springbank Distillery in September, and the process is a lot more challenging to make the local barley. The distillers actually hate making it because the barley is such poor quality compared to their standard barley, so it jams up their machines, and there's a lot of grit in it. So it's a very laborious project to kind of make the local barley, but it delivers at the end because it offers that unique, buttered, spiced buttered flavor profile that's just really nice.
Yeah, I could totally see it. Well, I'm going to grab it and see how it differentiates from some of the other cask strengths that I've had.
Yeah, for sure. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's a lot of that vanilla, honey, and the sweetness that you get from a bourbon cask in this. I think as much as I love Springbank and sherry and port and some of those other great finishes, I think the cask strength really lends itself well with the bourbon cask.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And the nice thing about ex-bourbon casks in general for any distillery in Scotland is that it does help highlight the spirit of that distillery. It's not being overshadowed by a super sherried or wine finished barrel, and you really get to taste the house characteristics of that whiskey. Looks like we're having a little bit of internet connection difficulties here, so there might be a little bit of a lag here and there.
Okay, I still got you.
All right, perfect. Some of the things you're saying, you freeze up a little bit, but as long as we get the conversation going, that should be fine. And anybody watching, if you have questions, feel free to pop them into the little question mark at the bottom of your screen or in the comments, and we'll try to get to them. All right, so as we sip through this Springbank 12-year-old cask strength, I'm going to jump into my first set of questions here. And the first one is, tell us a little bit about how you got into the whiskey game originally. How did you start your account, and where were your origins?
It kind of happened from, I was drinking whiskey for a little while in New York. I grew up in New York, and I moved here to Ohio for work. I definitely get some really heavy. Anybody who's sherry, but a lot of people love when it's a couple. It's like about a few sherry. About 4 or 5 years before I moved to Ohio, I got my first taste of barrel proof bourbon at a bar. It was a bottle of Booker's bourbon.
Yeah.
And had never tried barrel proof bourbon like that, so I was totally hooked. Kind of was trying everything after that. And when I moved to Ohio, I kind of discovered the whiskey tube, thing on YouTube, and I was kind of immersed myself in it and was watching every channel, trying to learn as much as I could about everything. I have a design and video editing background, so I thought, you know what, I could, nobody really talks about the history of some of these bottles and where they come from and who makes them and the distilleries themselves. So maybe that's something different I could bring to the, to the channel. So, yeah, and then 2018, I did my first video, and the rest was history. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And to grow to over 75,000 subscribers in 5 years, that's an impressive feat, So that's a great job by you. You can clearly tell that you're putting in quality content, quality cinematography, and everything. So, that's really great. And which part of New York did you come from?
Queens.
Oh, okay. So you came from New York City. Very nice. I live outside of New York City in Westchester County, so I'm not far from there.
What?
Sorry, you broke up a little bit there. What was the question? All right, we might have you back here.
I think I got you back.
All right. I think we're back in. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll give you an IO in the chat. I'll give you an IO for the OH.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So next question is, where did you get the name Mash and Drum from?
So there was a bar in New York that I love called the Fife and Drum.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been playing drums for over 25 years. It's something I love to do. It kind of relieves my stress a little bit. And once I was thinking of a good, challenge, I just didn't want to do like bourbon something.
Yeah.
So I went with the mash at Westchester drum, for bourbon mash or whiskey mash. Go mash and drum. Yep. There you go. Sounds kind of cool. So yeah, that was really the name for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're a drummer. What kind of who's your inspirational drummer? Like, who's your favorite drummer out there?
Stuart Copeland from the Police. Neil Peart, obviously, God rest his soul, from Rush.
Yeah.
Mike Portnoy, Dave Weckl. There's a bunch of drummers that I love to listen to, but those are kind of the main ones.
Yeah, no. I used to play the drums back in my younger days, and I've always been a big fan of Carter Buford of Dave Matthews Band. He's been my favorite drummer to watch because his unbelievable technical skills.
Yeah, he does like Carter Beauford things that nobody else can do. He's amazing.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. Especially with his unorthodox drumming style, left hand on the hi-hat.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty cool though, to kind of pair your hobby with your love for whiskey. So that's a really cool origin for the name. How about the first bottle? So you said your first bottle was a barrel proof bourbon that kind of got you into it. Was the Booker's the kind of whiskey that launched you on your whiskey journey?
I would say so, because after I tried that bottle of Booker's, I really just wanted to try everything I could. Mm-hmm. And that's when I just started learning about more brands. And, I was drinking Wild Turkey 101, like in college, on ice. And then I finally had it neat. And I was kind of tinkering around with some other brands, Elijah Craig and Buffalo Trace, and it was available. And then, once I had that barrel proof bottle, mm-hmm. It really kind of set me off. I'm like, wow, this is way more flavorful than I'd ever had in a bourbon before. And then, I was trying scotches too, but I was still really learning more about single malts. As I was doing my channel, that's when I really kind of dove into single malts. Once my brain couldn't handle any more bourbon information, I kind of dove into single malts.
Yeah. No, that's, any whiskey enthusiast eventually kind of deviates into different styles of whiskey, even though you probably usually stay in your wheelhouse, which you started off with. Because I started off in Scotch whiskey, but it wasn't until I had a barrel proof bourbon too that I was like, oh, bourbon actually has something to offer. I think for me it was Elijah Craig barrel proof. Up to that point, I've been having like the 45% bourbons that I thought were kind of one-dimensional, weren't very interesting. And then once I had the Elijah Craig barrel proof, I'm like, wow, this is like rich, bold, in your face, sweet. It offers something that I hadn't had before, and that kind of launched me into like, all right, what other bourbons are out there? I found Booker's and a few others that really kind of clicked with me. So, it's just finding that right one and that offers something that you didn't expect.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, once you kind of experience that, really, it's like anything else. You just want to try the next best thing that you could find. I think that's what keeps people trying different whiskeys and seeking different ones out.
Yeah, yeah, without a doubt. Uh, Somebody is asking Five Forks Kings. Ask about the beautiful butterflies. I'm not sure what he's referring to.
Yeah, it's about a bourbon brand called Blue Run that has butterflies in the bottles. I have a lot of opinions about about those bottles.
I'm guessing the opinions aren't super high. Is that the idea?
Yeah, they're not super high opinions, but let's just say they are probably some of the best. This is the best company in marketing I've ever seen in whiskey, but the whiskey doesn't really live up to the hype when it comes to the marketing. So I'll just say that.
Yeah, I mean, and you find that in a lot of cases. A lot of Scotch whiskeys out there that are heavily marketed aren't necessarily delivering on the price tags you're paying for. So you just have to, if you got a good voice, sometimes that's all that matters if they're trying to drive profits.
I mean, from a Scotch standpoint, I mean, you could probably equate it to Macallan. How
Yeah,
Macallan is such a great marketer, and people chase those bottles no matter what they put in that bottle. It's
yeah,
it's very similar.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
absolutely right. Macallan is the gold standard for the image of whiskey drinking, as opposed, and they obviously can make wonderful whiskey. I don't want to disparage their spirits. They make very high quality whiskeys, but in general, they are there for more of the affluent drinker that are seeking out image and prestige. It's a lifestyle drink as opposed to an actual enthusiast drink.
Yep.
So what is your favorite part about being a whiskey influencer? Like what do you enjoy the most?
I mean, that's easy. It's the people, it's community.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. They're the ones that keep me wanting to make content. They're the ones that keep me, motivating me. It's some of the best. It's some of the best people that I've ever met in my entire life, from all walks of life, all different corners of the planet, different corners of every race, religion, creed. No matter what you say, what you think, whiskey brings people together, and for some reason, it's always just like the best people. And I think that's what keeps me going and making content. I absolutely love it. And that's why I look forward to meetups and to my Wednesday night live streams where I could connect with everyone.
Yeah.
It's the best part of it.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with that too, because the people I've met since I've started my Instagram account is just unbelievable, and everybody's so generous in the whiskey community. And I mean, it was cool. I went out to Scotland in August and September, and I met up with people from the whiskey community and who lived in Glasgow, and it was just so much fun, just kind of becoming friends with people from different aspects of life.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's the best part about it.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's really cool. All right, and outside of the whiskey world, what do you do for a living?
I do marketing, basically, so it's not surprising.
Yeah,
I do marketing. I do marketing, design, video content creation for the company I work for. More heavy on the a little bit more marketing, strategic marketing than anything else. But
yeah,
it kind of went well hand in hand with my channel. So
yeah, no, that's really cool that you can kind of share your passion for whiskey with what you do for a career. I mean, that you're right, that goes hand in hand. So that's a really cool 1-2 right there.
yep, yeah, definitely, it definitely helps.
Yeah, for sure. So what are your thoughts on, I've had you talking this whole time. What have been your thoughts on this Springbank 12-year-old?
I forgot how good this was,
Yeah,
man.
it's really good.
I'm actually starting to get like grilled peach notes in it
Yeah.
to go along with the heavy vanilla, little hints of caramel, not much.
Yeah.
But that funk that Springbank has, balanced with that fruitiness, I love it, man. I might crush this bottle tonight. This thing is good.
Yeah, and that's such the cool thing about Springbank is that it really does deliver a whiskey experience unlike any other distillery. Even their long row, their heavily peated stuff, it doesn't taste like Isla peat. It doesn't taste like any other peat out there. It's just a very unique style of whiskey that you can't get anywhere else. I mean, it's one of the few distilleries that I'm willing to pay a bit of a premium for just to get something unique because nothing else can replicate it.
Yeah, I can totally see that.
Yeah, for sure. People are asking which Springbank this is. This is the Springbank 12-year-old cask strength, 100% ex-bourbon cask matured. I think this was 2021 maybe release, if I'm right. Yeah, 2021, September of 2021, this one came out. All right. So do you want to jump into the next sample that we have here, or do you want to still kind of focus? Obviously, we're going to something that's a little more heavily peated, a little bit more traditional style of whiskey. Is this something you want to jump into that one, or do you want to kind of stick with your Springbank?
Yeah, no, let's go to the No Name. It's another one I haven't had in a little while.
Yeah. Someone saying I heard Springbank is like the Blanton's of Scotch. I'm not as I know Blanton's has its ardent followers, but I don't know if the style is unique like a Springbank would be.
No, I think in that term they mean it's the most like sought after and the most like coveted. When it comes to Scotch these days, just like Blanton's is on the bourbon side.
All right. And does Blanton's deliver an experience like Springbank in terms of quality?
Oh hell no! Hell no. I mean it's very good quality bourbon. But it's an entry level product, I think, in my opinion, for bourbon lovers. Someone's looking to get into bourbon. Yeah. Blanton's is an extremely approachable, really, really easy sipping experience. It's a single barrel product. Mm-hmm. People love it. But I think people love the bottle more than what's actually inside the bottle. But it's been a historic bourbon for many years, since the 1980s, when it was created by Elmer T. Lee. It was one of the first single barrel bourbons behind Booker's. Mm-hmm. And it's just been one of those really good. I'm sorry, no, Booker's is a small batch. Mm-hmm. What was I thinking of? What brand was I thinking of? Anyway, it's kind of seen as like the world's first single barrel offering, but when I first tried Blanton's, in back in the day, it was also an older product. It's gotten younger. Because I think the demand is higher, and it's gotten to a point where it's being upcharged. Anything basically from Buffalo Trace, you're going to pay a premium for, and I think that's what they mean, like Springbank and Blanton's, but not just Blanton's, just anything from Buffalo Trace has a high markup value to it. Yeah,
so it sounds like Blanton's might be more closely correlated with Macallan as opposed to, because Springbank, even their standard 10-year-old, is complex and interesting and a very high quality whiskey, and it's loved by enthusiasts, whereas Macallan, their 12-year-old is pretty straightforward, low ABV, not it's fine, but it's not particularly great, and it's way overpriced.
Sure.
Yeah, no, it sounds like that's kind of a good comparison for it. The No Name, number 3, our next whiskey of the night. This one came out in 2022, and the makeup of this blend is 74.7% 15-year-old Lafroig from Recharred Hogshead, 11.3% 18-year-old Bowmore with refill bourbon casks, 7.5% 18-year-old Mortlock from Recharred barrels, 6% 17-year-old Clynelish from refill sherry butts, and then 0.5% of a Highland malt blend. So obviously dominated by that Lafroig, but in my opinion, this one, the Bowmore really kind of, even though it's only 11%, really kind of peeks its head through a lot of the characteristics. Bowmore is another one of those distilleries that has that very unique style of whiskey that is hard to find in other distilleries.
Yeah, and I think Bowmore as well is one of those. Bowmore has one of those followings as just a really good. It's just a great distillery making high quality distillate. I think they're somewhat still kind of under the radar a little bit, especially compared to Springbank, but they're making incredible whiskey.
Yeah, they have a good portion of that super high end market with like their Aston Martin releases and whatnot. And then their core range is it leaves a little bit to be desired. They're bottled at 43%. There's a lot of caramel coloring in it. But it's still fine. But where they really shine are their limited edition release that are closer to cask strength and their independent bottlings. What got me into Bowmore originally was the SMWS 17-year-old second fill bourbon cask strength whiskey, and that one was absolutely incredible. It blew me away, and that's when kind of I went down the Bowmore rabbit hole where I was seeking out these unique limited releases of Bowmore. And like Springbank, it offers a drinking experience like nothing I've had before. So, we're talking a lot about Bowmore, even though that's like the secondary component of this whiskey, but that it does kind of shine through a little bit, the Lefroy on this one.
Yep.
I mean, you still get Lefroy dominated.
Your feed is breaking up a lot. I'm not sure if your internet, it needs to be boosted or something, but you're very...
Let me take a look here. I'm next to my computer. I'll just take a look to make sure my internet speed is good. Your internet was breaking up a little bit earlier in the chat, and now it looks like mine is. But it looks like my internet's running okay right now. Can you see me? Can you hear me fine?
I can hear you. You're just a little choppy, but I can hear you.
All right. Hopefully it doesn't break down too much, and that we can communicate effectively. So what are your initial thoughts of the No Name number 3?
This was one that was recommended to me and to try, and it ended up being a huge surprise. I absolutely love it.
Yep.
I love the balance of it's such a perfect peated blend.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even say how much everything just plays well with each other. It's smoky, it's sweet,
mm-hmm.
it's somewhat tropical, but it's somewhat dark fruity too. It's got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and Compass Box obviously is probably the premier blender of Scotch whiskey. And have you had either the No Name 1 or 2?
Yeah, I've had one. I don't think I had 2, but I did have 1.
Yeah, so I mean 2 is probably the worst of the 3, though it's still a very good one. That one is the highlighted Kalila is highlighted in that one. Number 1 is phenomenal. That one's the Ardbeg focused one. This one's the Lefroy one. So these are the top 2, and yeah, I mean it really does shine. It's like a perfect marriage of a peated whiskey, and anything that has a little bit of a filler of Clynelish, which is one of my favorite distilleries, is a winner. It makes such a good adds that waxy creaminess to the overall profile. And really makes a nice whiskey.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with that. There is a waxiness to it. But yeah, this Compass Box No Name, I loved it so much I doubled up on it. I grabbed another one because it was so good. No Name 3.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good idea. And I'm likely going to pick up a second one as well. This is my only bottle right now, but at some point I'll pick it up. Do you have any experience with any other Compass Boxes?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the... I forgot the name. What were the ones with the angel names? Those were amazing.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, what's the one I have up there? Spice Tree.
Oh yeah,
love that one. Yeah, I have a bunch that I have to go back and revisit. It's just too much whiskey.
That's the weakness of us whiskey enthusiasts is that we have too much whiskey. So but I mean the nice thing is it's great to share with people. I've started opening up to people at work and whatnot, trying to get more people into whiskey and build out the community. So that's one of the great things about having such a great collection.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so my next set of questions, these are going to be kind of whiskey preferences for you. The first one I think I know the answer to, but Scotch or bourbon, which do you prefer?
Oh, definitely bourbon. I lean more bourbon. Mm-hmm. I love Scotch. There's definitely particular brands of Scotch that I love. But yeah, I'm definitely a bourbon guy at heart.
Yeah, no, that's based on how much bourbon's talked about on your account. That makes sense, and that's your origins. Usually what you start with is what you stay with.
Yeah. But I mean, I've gone into Scotch. I've gone into Japanese whiskey. I've gone into Indian whiskey. I try everything. I don't try to pigeonhole myself into just bourbon. There's too much good whiskey to.
Oh yeah.
Just to stick with one style. So.
No, I 100% agree. And each style has something unique to offer, so no need to limit yourself to one. What would you say the most similar style to bourbon is outside of bourbon? Like, which whiskey would you recommend people to go into if they're looking to branch out of bourbon?
Into Scotch?
Or into any other world whiskey. Like, which whiskey is the most similar to bourbon, would you say?
Oh, man. What's the most similar to bourbon? I don't know if there's something similar to bourbon, but I've gotten a lot of people into Scotch with a few bottles. One of them being the Glenfiddich 14, mm-hmm. which is all ex-bourbon.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
That's a great single malt to get people into Scotch. I mentioned Spice Tree from Compass Box. That's another one. But the number one Scotch I've gotten people into it from bourbon has been Bunnahabhain 12. That's been my number one.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a great whiskey and an affordable bottle for the most part too. So that's understandable.
Yeah.
That
Yep.
what is your favorite distillery?
Man, that probably changes year to year. I would probably have to say though, ultimately, my favorite distillery has always been Wild Turkey.
All right, yeah,
I love Wild Turkey. I love the products they put out. I love the history behind it. It's got a family atmosphere. There's nothing like being at that distillery. I love Wild Turkey.
So if I plan a trip to Kentucky, I should add Wild Turkey to my list.
Like what you should try from them?
Yeah, yeah. If I'm going to try some Wild Turkey.
I mean, it's always good to start with the basic. Try Wild Turkey 101. That's probably one of the best whiskeys you're going to get for your money, especially bourbon nowadays. It's like a $23 bottle.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fantastic. It's got a little bit of a rye spice to it. Keeps things interesting. It's a good proof point. But most people will say, get rare breed.
Yeah.
It's 116 proof. You have some 12-year whiskey in that blend with some 8-year. And it's just got, it's a full-on flavor bomb. So it's really, really good stuff.
Yeah, I do actually have a bottle of that rare breed. I haven't opened it yet. I got it 2.5 years ago. It's been a while. I just haven't gotten around to cracking it open. But I do have Russell's is Wild Turkey, right?
Yeah, Russell's Reserve single barrels are probably. I have more Russell's bottles single barrels than probably any other bottle I have. I have about like 50 to 60 single barrel picks of those. I can't. It's like I see one, I just can't like not buy it because they all are sourced from different warehouses.
Yeah.
Being single barrels all across Wild Turkey, and they're all a little different. I just love tasting all the different types of flavors you get from the different warehouses.
Yeah, I do. I did open my one bottle of the Russell single barrel, and I was impressed by it. I thought it was a really nice whiskey. It had a good proof to it, and delivered an interesting, spicy enough experience to make it worth my while. So that is a really nice pick.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I mean, it's classic turkey flavors, just amped up a little bit, which is nice.
Yeah. Referring to, I guess, Scotch or non-bourbon whiskey, what is your favorite cask type for a Scotch or an Irish whiskey? Like ex-bourbon, sherry, any type of wine finishes that you really kind of lean towards?
Oh man, that's a good question. I do like when a combination of ex-bourbon and ex-sherry is used together.
Yeah, for sure.
In a Scotch, I think that combination of flavors just speaks to me a little bit. I do like just plain ex-bourbon, but to me, it's got to have a good age on it before it gets really interesting. But man, there's something to be said about just a sherry bomb of a Scotch, like something that you hold up to the light, you can't even see through it. There's just something about a really heavily sherry Scotch that's just like you get the raisin and the chocolate and all those flavors.
Yeah.
I love that. I've had some really good port finishes too, but I think if there's one, it'd probably be PX Sherry. I love PX Sherry.
Oh yeah, yeah, PX Sherry with that additional sweetness it provides. As long as it's not too dominant, it can dominate the overall distillate. But yeah, PX Sherry, it's hard to go wrong with that. And yeah, I mean everything you just described is exactly what I think too. Like if you're going ex-bourbon, you need a little bit of age on it to get some of those tropical fruits and the creaminess that ex-bourbon has to offer. And then the combination of the two. I mean, I'm about to finish a bottle of Annock 18-year-old, which is a blend between the ex-bourbon and ex-sherry cask, and it's just they complement each other so well. You get a little more sweetness from that ex-bourbon, but you also get those dark fruits and those dark chocolates from that sherry cask. It's just such a wonderful match when you have those two.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. You have to try one of those bottles. My goodness, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, if anything sounds, if you kind of scroll through my account, anything looks interesting to you, I'd be happy to send you some samples. Just let me know, and you can try out some different Scotch whiskeys. So this next question is a tough one. If you were only going to drink one bottle of whiskey for the rest of your life, which bottle are you choosing?
Oh my God. I don't know, man. That's tough.
Your house is burning down. You can only grab one of your bottles. Which bottle you taking?
I probably can't even. I don't even know if I would answer that. It would actually probably be. It could be one bottle the rest of my life. It would probably be this bottle right here. This is a bottle of Wild Turkey 12-year
Oh, yeah.
gold foil
Yep.
from 1989.
Mm-hmm.
It's liquid butterscotch with some spice. This is the flavor profile that I look for. I love finding buttery, butterscotchy like bourbons. Generally, you find them from bourbons in like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
More so now. I mean, you do find it in today's bourbons as well. But man, it is just a butterscotch bomb of a whiskey. That would, if I could have just like 18,000 cases of that for the rest of my life, I'd be happy.
No, that's awesome. No, that sounds like a wonderful bourbon. And that's the thing for me, and the reason why I haven't dived into bourbon more often or more frequently is because there's less of a differentiation from one bourbon to next compared to like a Scotch whiskey. So, I can detect differences in some bourbons, but the general foundation seems to be the same. But as you described, a butterscotch type style of bourbon, that just sounds wonderful and unique and different from the standard styles that you have.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there are modern bourbons I love. Obviously, if I had to pick a modern bourbon, it would be something from Wild Turkey probably, because I just love that flavor profile. But yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. So any final thoughts on the Compass Box No Name number 3 before we jump into our?
It's always been interesting to me that how that blend, even though it's primarily Lefroy, how soft the smoke is.
I know
it's not overpowering. I mean, it does dominate to a point, but it becomes really soft with all the other blends, and it's just fruity and sweet. Mm-hmm. It's really, really good.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. I mean, Lefroy has that medicinal peatiness to it, and it's not dominant here. And then for me, on the finish, that's where the Bowmore kind of takes full form. It's like I can taste that distinct funk from Bowmore on the back end, and then it's just kind of mellowed out with that Mortlach and that Clynelish. So really well done by Compass Box, and a great whiskey to go back to. Do you prefer peated scotches or not unpeated scotches? Like, do you have a preference between the two?
I think I generally gear towards peated or coastal. Like Talisker is one of my favorite distillers. I love high aged Talisker. There's something about that salty, briny, like that punch of that little punch of smoke it has to go along with it. That salty, sweet vibe it has. I love Talisker, Bruichladdich, Bunnahabhain, and I would probably put Bowmore up there, and Springbank is like kind of the ones that I gear towards as far as Scotch brands. I mean, I love those distilleries. I'm just now getting into more Glenallachie because that has made its way to Ohio, a little bit easier to find. Those have been pretty impressive too, really heavily sherried. At least the offerings that I've gotten, the 15 and the 18 year. I mean, there's a lot that I like. Obviously, just drinking some art. I've kind of fallen off with Ardbeg a little bit. I definitely enjoy their core ranges way more than their special releases. Like, I could drink Ugadal or Korviekin any day of the week over, a lot of their special releases.
Yeah, their special releases tend to be a little gimmicky in some ways with their, flashy names and their high price tags. And more often than not, they're not worth those high price tags. So, and their core range is so good. Why would you ever deviate from that?
Yeah. Totally agree. Yeah.
How many? You don't have to answer this if you don't want to. How many bottles do you have in your collection?
I mean, I don't have an exact count, but I know it's over maybe over 1,000.
Oh wow!
At least it could be over 1,200 at this point with the amount of bottles that keep coming in. And I do barrel picks, and we get a lot of those that we get, and it's endless, man. It just keeps coming. Anytime I get rid of bottles to give to people to try, because I do that. I'll take bottles that I know I'm not going to really dive into too much, and I'll literally hand a whole box of whiskey to somebody. Like, here, take them all, try them. Yeah. I'm probably not going to hit these anymore. And it's like, as soon as I get rid of a whole box, another box comes in to replace it. It's endless.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but it makes sense. It's part of your platform, part of your review process. So you need to keep on getting them in to keep the content rolling. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, that's the deal. That's what you got to do.
Yeah. No, but it's still great just to have the exploration and the journey of drinking all these whiskeys and exploring is so much fun. So, it's such a cool thing to do.
Yeah, I love it. And like I said, the whiskey's great, but the community is even better.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's jump into this the final pour of the night, and this is the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. Like I mentioned before, this is the bourbon that got me into the bourbon world. Every time I see it for sub $70, I always try to pick it up because I feel like that value can't be there forever. And you see it frequently in this general area in the Northeast for like $65-ish. So, I always try to load up on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of always dubbed the best value in bourbon, and it really is. It did go up $10 this year from 60 to 70 for MSRP.
Yeah,
and I think some people were spending that much money on it anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I've got I probably have this is the style of bourbon I have the most of. I probably have like 12, 13 bottles of Elijah Craig, which the frequency I drink bourbon, this is going to last me many, many years, so I'm not too worried about running out.
So which one did you say you had? You had A123, is that one you said? A122, which one was it?
A121.
A121, okay.
I'm sure you have most of the releases that come out.
Well, Heaven Hill is, I'm trying to build a good relationship with them. They've been really good to me, so I'm hoping to get some samples of some stuff as we go down the line here, but it's kind of a hit and miss, with Heaven Hill. Like, at least where I live in Ohio, that sometimes you get stuff pretty easily, sometimes you got to wait for it. It just really depends.
Yeah. So we did have one write-in question. Somebody asked, how do you see the American single malt? Is it a threat to Scotch or a positive for the entire category? What are your thoughts on that?
I think in the long run, it could be a threat to Scotch. And the only reason why I say that is because I think Americans can be very patriotic. Mm-hmm. And if the price is lower than something from Scotland and they want to support something from America, they may choose to buy something because of that American single malt name on the front of that bottle.
Yeah.
Especially if the quality keeps getting better and better and better, which it is.
Yeah.
I think the biggest difference, honestly, has been the throwing their hat in the ring is Jack Daniel's. They made their first American single malt, and now that they've done it, I predicted this at the beginning of the year. You're going to see every big producer coming out with an American single malt. There have already been some great American single malt producers, in the United States. I mean, Westland, Westward, McCarthy's. I did a Virginia Distilling Company. A lot of people just focusing on American single malt. But now that you have not only a legal definition of what American single malt is now, Jack Daniel's being one of the biggest brands in the land, throwing their hat in the ring, it's not going to be long. We already see New Riff is coming out with an American single malt pretty soon. You're going to see Jim Beam. You're going to see Heaven Hill. It's going to happen eventually. All these big brands are going to have an American single malt because, they kind of have to now. They got to keep up with what everybody else is doing. So it could end up being a big thing, but the quality has to be there. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of distillers, especially in the United States, that kind of have to relearn. It's not like distilling bourbon. It's a whole nother game to make single malt. And I think that's but I think the training and the learning of that has been going on for the last several years as people are getting ready for the American single malt. It made sense that Jack Daniel's got in the game because they're owned by Brown-Forman, who owns Glendronach, mm-hmm. one of the biggest Scotch brands in the land. So I think they had that tutelage from them, and they had that experience on how to make American single malt. So we'll see what happens. I think there's going to be that hardcore group of people that say, I'm not drinking American single malt. Scotland knows how to make single malt. That's what we're going to do. But you got to remember, Scotland's climate plays a big part in having to age for 12, 13, 14 years for it to get, pretty palatable and pretty good. I mean, aside from the young peated stuff that you could get away with a little bit of a younger whiskey.
Yeah.
But man, if you could make an American single malt to that high quality in 6 years to 7 years, rather than waiting to 12 years from getting something from Scotland, I think you have something there, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I think the key point there is when you said the big producers are going to start making American single malts, because I think the biggest handicap for them to this point is that it's a smaller production, so the price of the bottle is a lot higher. You know, I can get a high quality Scotch whiskey more often than, for cheaper than an American single malt as it stands today. So I'm usually going to pick up a Scotch whiskey. But once a good quality American single malts can get to that price point where it's comparable, competitive to Scotch whiskey, then I definitely think that's where it's going to start, noticing a bigger market share. And then if they can create a unique style too, that's even just separate, different from a Scotch whiskey style, then that'll be great too. Then it'll just add another category for us to explore.
Yeah, and the Jack Daniels one's pretty interesting because it still has a Jack Daniels kind of backbone flavor to it.
Yeah.
But the really heavy Oloroso finish they did with it when it comes to it tastes like raspberry at some point to me. It's really good. It's not everybody's cup of tea though. It's one of those things where, again, we talked about like bourbon drinkers looking for something different.
Yep.
They might not be ready for a single malt yet. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, no, I was talking, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Chris from Single Malt Savvy. He has an Instagram account, and a website. But I was chatting with him about American single malts, and he was saying that, just from his experience, he has been noticing the biggest buyers of American single malt are those bourbon drinkers and not Scotch drinkers. So I think you're right. I think bourbon drinkers who are patriotic, are interested in exploring different styles of whiskey, might reach for that American single malt over a Scotch whiskey.
I totally think that's what's going to drive it, and it totally plays into what you said. If they could figure out how to make an affordable American single malt with the same quality, the same flavor punch as something from Scotland,
yeah,
I think that it could make a dent in the Scotland brands at some point.
Yeah, and I think if all these big producers start making American single malts, that might be a challenge to some of these smaller distilleries that are opening just to make these American single malts that have to price it up to like $80-$90 for a bottle of 3-year-old single malt that doesn't necessarily deliver what you'd want. So it'll be, the landscape is going to be fascinating over the next few years.
Yeah, I just don't think that American single malt will be interesting to see as it goes on, if they will actually be able to replicate or come close to a style like a Bowmore or Springbank or something like that. It'll be interesting. I don't see that happening.
No.
I don't see an American single malt being able to compete with like a Springbank or a Lagavulin or something like that. I mean, I think they could do peated whiskey, but I think where American single malt is going to really go head to head will be the Macallans, the Glenfiddichs, some of those more popular brands that people know and love on the shelf. You can make something priced at $40 to $60. American single malt, just as flavorful as those, I think those types of brands could be in trouble, at least in the beginning.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's true. And, hopefully they can make it unique enough that we are reaching for it as an alternative whiskey experience, something that we haven't had yet. That would be the ideal situation when it comes to American single malts. Yeah,
I totally agree.
We did have a question back here about the Elijah Craig. Someone wants to know, can you tell an extreme difference between the 121, 122, 123 Elijah Craig barrel proof or just different notes?
Each bottle is different. And there's no, I think you have specific flavors in Elijah Craig barrel proof that are pretty true for every bottle. You get a good punch of oak, you get some brown sugars, you get a lot of vanilla caramel sweetness. Where the differences lie, at least for me personally, is going to be in the spice of it. Sometimes the proof on certain bottles, because they can go from anywhere from like 116 all the way up to, 132, 133.
Yeah.
I think on some bottles you feel the proof more than others. On some bottles they're sweeter than others. Like some of those sweet flavors are a little bit more punch you in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that rye spice comes through. It's a little bit more savory. But I think that's kind of the beauty of it. They come out 3 times a year. They're all usually pretty different. You could go across the board from, all the way back to, 2020, 2019, all the way till now. You have certain bottles of Elijah Craig barrel proof that can taste similar, but they're all somewhat a little bit different. There are some years like last year, 2022, the A batch from 2022 was like, to me, was super spicy. You really tasted the proof. But the B batch, when that came out, that was an absolute candy bomb. It was like drinking a candy shop. It was so sweet.
Yeah.
So when you kind of put those two next to each other, you could definitely see the differences.
Yeah.
And then this batch right here, which is the C922, this one was kind of a blend of both. It had the sweet and it had the spice, and this is a beautiful bottle of the last week barrel for one of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, and that's such the cool thing about whiskey in general. How you have a seemingly identical product, or very similar products, but you can really taste the difference between them. I mean, it just makes the exploration that much more fun.
Yeah.
And Elijah Craig Barrel Proof is a great example of that. I mean, you taste the three, in a single year, you taste the three different batches. You're likely going to taste some differences.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's just kind of, and people ask me like, how to get better at kind of training your palate with bourbons. That's what you basically do. Just drink one brand of bourbon. Drink one brand of bourbon for like a month.
Yeah.
And then when the month is over, then introduce a totally different brand, and you'll start picking up the differences. A lot of people say, "Oh, all bourbon tastes the same." It really doesn't.
Yeah.
When you start tasting a yeast strain and you tasting the mash bills from the different distilleries and how it's created, if you drink one brand of bourbon, if you drink All Heaven Hill one month and then transition into like Wild Turkey the next month, there are huge differences there.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the nuanced differences in different, depending on the mash bill, where it was aged, and the rick houses, everything that kind of plays a role into it. And like you said, the best way to build out your palate is to practice, and the practice you have to drink whiskey. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. It took me a while when I first got into the whiskey game. Scotch has a wider gamut of flavor profiles, but it did take me a while to kind of start differentiating the different styles of Scotch and kind of build out my palate. And it doesn't happen overnight. As long as you're enjoying what you're doing, just make sure you try different styles and continue to build out your palate and understand the differences.
Yeah, I always have to tell people, getting into Scotch that, listen, all Scotch is not peated. There are so many different flavor profiles.
Yeah,
not everything is Ardbeg. So then I kind of introduce like Bunnahabhain and some of the other Scotch, and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, this is good. I could drink this. So
yeah, and that's the most common misconception for non-Scotch drinkers, is that most people think like, oh, I don't like Scotch because it's too smoky. It's like, no, actually most Scotch is not peated. Most Scotch is unpeated, and it doesn't taste, there's no smoke to it at all. But it's just the most unusual characteristic for a Scotch whiskey, so that's what stands out to people who don't really drink it.
Exactly.
So when you're not drinking whiskey neat, what is your next choice of alcoholic beverage? Could be another spirit, could be beer, could be wine. What do you go to when you're not drinking whiskey?
I mean, I guess wine.
Okay. But it doesn't sound like you do it very often.
Not very often. If I'm having wine, it's usually, with a good steak dinner, or I'm making Italian food. I'm making sauce with my meatballs. I like to have a good red wine with it.
Oh yeah.
So that's probably my. I mean, I do still dabble in beer too, but I generally stick with like stouts or porters. I like really dark beers. Those are kind of the kind of ones I go to. I can't do tequila. I can't do any of that stuff. So probably wine, or probably even wine over beer. Like, I have to really be in the mood for beer these days. I tend to drink it more now in the colder months. I like a good stout when it's a little bit cooler out. Keeps you nice and warm and toasty. I love those deep bricks, like chocolatey flavors. But yeah, in the summertime, I'm just, I don't really, unless I'm like at a beach with a Corona, I'm not really drinking a lot of beer or whiskey.
No, that's that's kind of the path I follow too. And if I'm gonna, like, I rarely drink beer, but it is those stouts that I reach for, like those. I don't know if you ever had Goose Island's bourbon barrel aged stouts that are like super thick and creamy and just so rich on your palate. I mean, that's what I reach for when I reach for a beer. Yeah.
There's actually the Bardstown Bourbon Company, which is one of my favorite bourbon producers. They just did a release in Illinois where they took 12-year-old bourbon and they threw it in a Goose Island beer barrel.
Yeah.
And it tastes like you're drinking chocolate fudge. It's delicious.
That sounds awesome. That just sounds like an incredible whiskey. Have you ever dabbled in rum at all, or you don't like rum either?
Yeah, I do like certain rums. I mean, I'm really kind of a Foursquare guy. Yeah. I love Foursquare. I love the high proof. I love the column distilled, no sugar added. Plantation makes some really good rums that I like. But yeah, I do like rum. Generally, I drink rum in the summertime because I have a nice cigar with it.
Yeah, no, the Foursquare is definitely the gold standard for at least the accessible rum out there because, it's sold in most places and it's a rum meant for whiskey drinkers, basically. It's cask strength, combination of column and pot still, no additives, and just really, really well made. So I'm a big fan of the Foursquare. And there's some other cask strength rums out there that really deliver a great drinking experience too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So we're going to get into some random questions here that are unrelated to whiskey at all. These are just kind of fun questions to wrap up our conversation. What is your favorite action film?
Favorite action film?
Yeah.
Gladiator.
Oh, that's a great choice. No, I mean, that's a classic. I mean, you never can go wrong watching Gladiator.
Yeah, anytime I just want to watch something and it's like, to quote the movie, I want to be entertained.
Yeah.
I like Gladiator.
Yeah, and everything in that movie, from not only just the film itself, but to the soundtrack and everything involved, it's just so well done. So that is a favorite one of mine too. So great choice of a film. What is something that you haven't done in your life that you wish you could do?
Man, that's a really good question. Something I haven't done in my life I wish I could do. Probably play drums with a band in front of 30,000 people, like in an arena.
That would be an incredible experience.
I would love to just feel that energy and play for like that. Yeah, that would probably be it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, I play drums at like small clubs and stuff like that, but never like to get that feeling in an arena would be pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, that is incredible. That would be an incredible experience for sure. What's your favorite band? Like, do you have a favorite band out there?
Favorite band? I mean, I don't know if I ever had a really favorite band. I mean, I think the top two I always listen to most of all are Rush and The Killers. Those are probably the two I listen to the most.
Okay, yeah, no, that's great. All right, so I got one final question for you here that we can wrap up our evening with. If you could share a dram of whiskey with 4 famous people, alive or dead, which 4 people are you going to share a dram with?
That's really good. Well, one would definitely be Neil Peart of Rush.
Yep.
Just because he's a drum, and he likes Macallan.
All right.
He drinks Macallan, so we definitely share a whiskey with him. Him, Michael Jordan, because he's the GOAT.
Yep. So wait, being from Ohio or living in Ohio right now, LeBron isn't your GOAT? That's a no-go?
Listen, I'm 45 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up watching Michael Jordan. So
yep.
I have all the respect for LeBron in the world. I think what he's done is amazing. I think he's probably the best all-around player like we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
But Jordan was just an assassin.
Yeah.
And I grew up watching him, and just like his intensity and just how competitive he was, it was amazing to watch. So definitely Michael Jordan. I'll throw in that for my number 2. Number 3 would be James Dean. Love like old James Dean films. And if I had to pick a 4th, I'd probably throw in who would be my 4th? I don't know. I have to think about that one. I can't think of it right away.
It's all right. You can leave it at 3.
It would probably be like Kelly Kapowski from Saved by the Bell.
Oh, that's a great one. That is a great choice.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Saved by the Bell, such a classic show. I mean, I used to watch that when I was a little kid, in the mornings. I mean, you can't go wrong with Saved by the Bell. Did you watch the reboot of it?
No, I couldn't do it.
No, yeah, you don't want the memories tarnished with the reboot.
No, yeah, I couldn't do it. I wasn't going to do it. There's certain things that just need to be left alone, and that was one of them.
Yeah, Saved by the Bell absolutely was one of those classic shows from the late 80s, early 90s that didn't need to be remade or rebooted. All right, now, before I get you out of here, any final comments on the Elijah Craig? Any thoughts on any of the whiskeys tonight? What was your favorite? What was the highlight whiskey of the evening?
I mean, I drink this Elijah Craig often. I think the Springbank 12 was probably was a really nice surprise. It's really opened up nicely. I'm definitely going to be revisiting that. Probably maybe do a full episode on that on the channel.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
That Springbank 12 cask strength is really good.
Yeah, and that's something that I've noticed with all Springbank products is that it really does well with some time on the shelf after it's been opened. It always opens up and brings new flavors out. So it's not a surprise that it's better now than you remember.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten a lot better. I'm really enjoying this one. I have some editing to do tonight, so I'll probably just sip this all night while I'm editing.
That's awesome.
It'd be a nice little drink.
Yeah. It's a great motivator for sure. All right.
Good.
I will get you out of here on one final question. Who's going to win the Super Bowl, Eagles or Chiefs?
I think the Chiefs are going to win it.
All right. As an Eagles fan, I hope you are wrong on that, but it's going to be tough to beat Mahomes.
I mean, I got no dog in the race. I feel like Philly's a really good team. I feel like the Chiefs have had a chip on their shoulder all year, and that might translate into the game. But if Philly won, it wouldn't surprise me either. I just think there's a little extra motivation there for the Chiefs for whatever reason. But I mean, it's all about Holmes' ankle. We'll see what happens with his ankle.
Yeah, and like Tom Brady in the previous generation. I mean, typically, if you vote for the best player of your generation, you're going to be right more often than not. So the Chiefs are not a bad choice.
Yeah, but I mean, even Jalen Hurts, he's a hell of a quarterback. So I just feel like if he finds a way to get outside the pocket and do what he does, and the Chiefs can figure out a way to contain that, I think the Eagles win. But if the Chiefs figure out how to contain him a little bit, I think it's going to be the Chiefs win. So we'll see what happens. Yeah,
I mean, his ailing shoulder has made him a little erratic throwing the ball lately. So hopefully the 2 weeks off gave him some time to rest. And he's a hard worker. He's not going to go down easy. So hopefully it's a good game, if nothing else.
And you never know, too. It's his first Super Bowl. It's his first time in that type of arena. You never know how guys are going to react to it, as good as they are. Mm-hmm. So you'll see how he does.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, Jason, I want to thank you again for joining me here tonight. This was a lot of fun, drinking some whiskey, chatting with you. Hopefully we can do this again in the future. I'll be happy to send you some samples of scotches you haven't tried, and we can jump on again and chat about those.
Yeah, it sounds great to me. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a good night. I'll talk to you later.
Cheers.
Cheers.